Greetings, one and all. How do?
Well, hello.
We do who?
Amazing. Hey, hello everyone. Hi, it's me, it's DM Dan, and we are the Explorers of Elsewhere, and we're going to be playing some Elysia Rising for you tonight. It's all very exciting stuff, I would wager. You lot are a little worse for wear.
We're fine. Don't know what you're on about.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you've been worse, arguably.
We've definitely been worse.
But
Speak for yourself.
well,
You got punched in the face. You got
Yeah.
brutalized. Of course, you've been worse.
I mean, this is the tangible. These stress bars are the tangible effect of police brutality. But yeah, you're fine. You're fine.
We didn't do anything wrong or anything to deserve the police
Did
brutality.
nothing.
Exactly.
Don't do
Outrageous.
foot fetish, kids. Not even once.
Yeah. Well, it's all good because you've gone to a friendly little meeting, and everything's going to be fine, right?
We're at the big
Die
boy
in this-
table.
Die in
Yay!
this
Yay.
basement.
We've moved from the kids' table.
Woohoo!
Yeah. Well, I would very much like to see how long you lot last. How about you? You ready to jump in?
That is not encouraging, Dan.
I
Let's do
give
it.
us 5 minutes.
Ready to roll new characters.
Character
Well-
creation's the best bit.
Well, I think we should start the timer right now.
Welcome to Elysia, the jewel of the north. On our gilded streets, fortune and fame can be found by anyone.
Hi, I'm Julia, and I'm playing Magpie, an ace of our lurk.
Hi, I'm Nate, and I'm playing Cavern, a dragon-scent slide.
Hi, I'm Meg. I'm playing Frida, a wolfkin cutter.
Hi, I'm JC, and I'll be playing Algernon, an Ace of our Spider.
Hello, I'm Errol. I am playing Atta, a goblin whisper.
And my name is DM Dan. I will be the games master on this adventure.
So come on in and marvel at our wonders. Make sure you see the beautiful views we have to offer, and don't mind the ghosts. They're friendly, really. Grab yourselves a seat and make yourselves welcome in the city of Elysia.
Less than 1 week ago, the spiritual and social leader of Elysia, Tavarien, was killed in Old Town. The murderer has yet to be found, but this significant event has caused a domino effect ever since. Many of the vying factions have taken Tavarien's death as an opportunity to expand and gain power, whilst others work in the shadows towards unknown goals. One of these factions is the elusive marionettes, masterminds of the criminal underworld. In a secret meeting, the thoughts of a changed Elysia hang ominously in the air, and our crew finds themselves at the very centre of it, the next domino to topple onto yet more dominoes. There are many burning questions to be asked. Some, however, may take a step back and ask a question from a different perspective. What will there be left once all the dominoes have fallen?
A pile of dominoes.
And so we find the 5 of you in a dimly lit basement of sorts, stood or sat on some, like, at the edge of a large round circular table. To your right is Musto Varn and a handful of higher ranking kobolds, and to your left are a number of Majani wearing rich robes and a plethora of gold jewellery. across the table from you, bathed in shadow, is a blonde Laravar woman who looks at you expectantly. Algernon, you recognize this woman as the Laravar who seemingly Algarve's secretary that you met only yesterday. But this Laravar woman, whom you, Magpie, assume to be Songbird, raises her eyebrows and says, "Please take a seat. We've got some business to discuss." And if any of you are glancing over at him, Musto, slightly wide-eyed, is kind of nodding his head frantically towards the seats.
Is there enough seats for us to all sit down?
There is.
I don't have to sit on Frida's lap.
No.
Musical chairs!
This is a professional outfit. There are enough seats.
Sit down.
Yeah, have a sit.
As you all kind of take your seats, who's on the leftmost of the seats?
I am. Frida is. Let's do that.
Okay. So Frida, as you sit down, you brush your shoulder against the Majani man that sat next to you, and you hear like an almost sharp intake of breath from him, and then he looks at you, and the dismissive sneer on his face is barely hidden.
I really surreptitiously sort of lift my armpit and just do a little,
As you do, there is you can hear a lot of kind of jewelry jingle and chink against itself as there's some shifting in the Majani. And Algernon, like the noise drawing your attention, you would suspect that to your left are the Ilnashi, a Majani family, a criminal syndicate family, once known for their sprawling gold shops through Elysia, but in more recent times have fallen back on more traditional occupations. But you notice amongst their number is a particularly piercing set of eyes that upon closer inspection you realise are heavily cataraxed, to the point where you would almost assume that perhaps she is blind. But you wonder if the lady staring at you is none other than Lady Null, the matriarch of the Ilnashi family. Her face swaddled in white fabric with gold trim. "I understand," Songbird begins, "that you find yourselves in somewhat of an elite group of people within Elysia. I understand that you know why everything that is happening is happening. You know about the Veil. So let's not rest on secrecy and misdirection here. We all know that the Veil is falling apart, which has allowed for some rather impressive theatrics from yourselves over up in Dustry Hill. But I've brought you here because I'm confident that we will find some sort of common ground on what we're going to do about it.
You're the Songbird, I assume?
Pleasure to meet you, Mr. Cadwallader.
Quite, I've been expecting to meet you ever since Musto darkened our door with his sweaty brow.
Musto kind of lets out a like he seems happy that someone mentioned his name. Well, you can rest assured that ever since Memorial Day, we have been keeping tabs on you. And you've been entertaining to watch, that's for sure.
You've seen my card tricks.
Songbird smiles, and among other things, yes. So, as far as you're all concerned, what is it that threatens Elysia? Like, who threatens Elysia the most?
Big question, isn't it?
Well, she looks to you all in turn, starting with you, Magpie.
Why did she look at me first? I just sort of shift a bit uncomfortably and say, it's difficult to say, isn't it? Sometimes I think there's no one particular person who does threaten Elysia the most. It's too busy tearing itself apart since Tavarien died. And the problem started well before that.
She turns her head to look at you, Etta.
Well, I don't much like the city guard, kind of glancing towards Catherine's probably still bruised face, and Frida for that matter, because of our fight recently. But anyone that destroys knowledge is also not really in my good books, personally.
She nods and turns her eyes to you, Algernon.
Quite, I'm not a big fan of Algarve. If only there was some way to keep closer tabs on his activities.
Her look carries on to Catherine.
Well, if you've been keeping tabs on us, you can probably tell I'm not in great favour with the city guard at the moment, and he sort of gestures to all of himself. But I still hold fast that, especially the children of Aya, are not particularly in my best graces.
She finally turns to you, Frida.
In my opinion, the ones that threaten most are those who exploit other people without giving them a fair chance. I think there's a few groups in this city that would fit that mark. The church comes to mind.
She finally nods. She nods in response to your answer. I find that the faith, the guard, even the pillars, they are not the real threat here. You see, they're all predictable. They all move in certain ways, and once you know how they move, you can stay out of their grips. The real threat are the unknown quantities, are the chaotic factions. And we've been looking for the kindling for quite some time. We don't know where they came from. We don't know why so many people are finding themselves gracing their doors. But we do know that the support for their rampant nihilism is growing. And I see that you've already had a bit of a run-in with some of their allies, those hollow nut jobs who've thrown their lot in with this crazy faction.
I got the impression that they were just a bunch of lunatics. What makes you think they're dangerous?
Because they're a bunch of lunatics with a purpose. And it's a purpose that we find abhorrent. And with all of that fervour and all of that encouragement, all pointed in the same direction, only bad things can come of that. But that's a problem for another day. We're yet to see the kindling show their hand, and we've been looking, trying to find it, but they're almost as good as us at keeping things discreet. I'd like us to turn to a somewhat more pressing matter. She looks to you, Algernon. I'm sure you've seen all of the hubbub with the Sanguivar in the city.
It's of my best interest to keep an eye on it.
I wouldn't be surprised if you've also been targeted, Mr. Cadwallader, by the Watch and their somewhat persuasive instruction.
They've come close a couple times.
We're not entirely sure why Algarve made such a racket gathering all those Sanguivar together, but we know that he's up to something. He's not been particularly forthright about it in my presence during the day, and he's been surprisingly discreet with his communications with the Black Guard. But we do know that one of those rounded up, a high-profile target, is currently being held in the keep. Now, I believe that you are smugglers. And this may be the first time that you're going to be asked to smuggle a live package. We need you to get into the keep to find this high-profile target that Algarve's got secreted away. And we need you to bring them to us, so we can find out, or try to figure out, why on earth they got rounded up in the first place. And the reason why I've summoned my colleagues here, she says, gesturing to the Cobbles and the Ilnashi, is that this will be a concerted effort. We will be providing support and a smokescreen for you to do your work to improve our chances as best we can.
I just ask, when she says that, can I look around the table? How many of these people around the table look like they actually want us here? And Frida's basing that off of the Majani to her left sort of reaction when she sat down.
So Musto is sort of like smiling. It's clear that like he's still riding on the wave of being acknowledged earlier by Algernon, but it's clear that he's just happy to be here. The Majani man that kind of sneered at you isn't looking in your direction anymore, but you notice that there is a look of kind of disciplined determination upon all of their faces. And Algernon, Algernon and Atta actually, from what you know of like the Elysian underworld, like they get the job done. They are ruthless, brutal, efficient, and whether or not they like a particular job is kind of second place to getting the job done. So, Frida, you do kind of get this impression that they are very aloof and very kind of insular, but the fact that they're here suggests that they're here to get the job done as well.
Okay.
But yeah, they might not come to have drinks with you after.
So this high-profile package, do you know who they are?
For the first time since you've met her, like, Songbird has had quite a poker face on her. Like, she's been quite, like, it's a look of determination, to be sure, but it's been quite stoic and it's not really changed. It's a face that says, I'm in charge here. But as you ask that question, you see a flicker of doubt. I do not. I didn't even know that he was keeping one of them in the keep. He's been real shy about it. All the others, they were paraded right into Bell Tower. But this, I don't know, a ringleader maybe? Like, a guest special enough that they get the accommodations of the keep itself. Yes, Atta.
Do we know if Magpie's friend was marched in with the rest of the crowds or secretly? Do we know that? Because I think we know that they got.
We know they
taken
got
in.
rounded up. Yeah.
Yeah, Frida. So yeah, Frida reported that Samuel was marched into Bell Tower along with all the other Sangreval, except for this one, it would seem. So that's the job. We're going to give you some time to prepare. So we're going to be launching our attack tomorrow night. There's a changing of the guard. We'll use that to our advantage.
And when you say attack, what do you mean?
You getting into the keep, us helping you get into the keep, and us making as much noise as we can to keep eyes off the keep. It'll be an easy enough job. The only real threat to be wary of are the Blackguard. And there's a wry smile on her face.
It's quite the threat.
Yeah. So don't let them see you. Or, if they do see you, run faster than them. Any questions?
So how long have you been at Algarve's right-hand side, and how did you get there? Quite an impressive feat.
For some months now. His previous aide had an unfortunate accident with the underside of a canal boat.
Yes, I've heard that happens nowadays.
A lot of it going around.
You notice that as she says that, like, Songbird doesn't look smug or like impressive. It's a very matter of fact. It is an opportunity to get information that I might not otherwise be privy to. And, as I was saying earlier with predictability, that bald twit hasn't got the faintest idea.
Well, if I'd have known this, I wouldn't have picked a fight with those pipsqueaks last night, I can tell you. My head is killing me.
We appreciate that this is a tall order. So anything we can do to help, we are more than happy to oblige. And as she says that, she glances over at the Ilnashi family. And like any of you who glance across as well notice that Lady Null, like the matriarch, is kind of looking over in your directions as well. And there's a couple of like side eyes in your direction. Because you retrieving this asset will be for the betterment of all of us.
Can't argue with that.
Where are you starting first? What is it that you think you're going to need to do to gather information?
The thing that springs to my mind is whether or not we can, like, go to or have access to any, like, public registries of like Sanguivar, either legal or illegal, so that we can better understand the mark? Because I'm worried that they might not want to come with us. Like, if we find them.
Okay, yeah, you could do like registries. There'll be registry offices in Abbotsgate for sure.
Yeah, maybe on Atta's point, it might be a case of who's not accounted for, right?
Okay. Yeah. What? So comparing. So if you're looking to get like documentation of who was rounded up and who's been processed into Bell Tower.
Yeah,
Okay.
because then I guess you'd be looking at a process of elimination. It's not going to be perfect, but it might be able to round down a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah, especially if someone looks relatively high profile.
Who? Okay. I mean, that sounds like a good idea. Who's wanting to do that, and where would you like to do it?
I think it's something that I can do. I can go to Abbotsgate. I might dig around in the intelligence course. See if I can still access a few back doors.
That sounds good. So, when you say dig around with the EIC, are you heading to Trito Hall, the home of the EIC?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. In which case, so as we kind of fast forward to the prep stage, make me a roll that you think is appropriate. I would imagine study.
Do you? Yeah.
Ooh, not bad.
Okay.
5.
Okay. So you make it. Describe to me how you get through sort of like the first line of security, which is all you really need to get to like records. How are you sneaking in?
I'm gonna just hang around until I recognize somebody that I knew from like 10 years ago when I was first recruited. Most people probably don't know I'm back in Elysia or even still alive.
Sure.
So if there's like one of my colleagues who was in the same class as me, I'm just gonna bump into them.
Okay. In which case, as you're kind of loitering around very purposefully, you hear, by the god, Algie? Is that you? And then as you turn, there is an Asavar man, your age, hair kind of slicked over, and you recognize Bertrand, who was somewhat of the college, like the class clown.
Bertrand, I've come in from the cold, old boy.
It's been forever and a day since I've seen you. I didn't realise you were in town when everything went bang. But good. I can't believe I haven't seen you in all this time. How are you doing?
Quiet. I just about squeaked my ass through the door before everything went tits up, as they say.
Oh, man, I suspect you rue that moment ever for the last 2 years. Anyway, come in. And he sort of like puts a arm around you, leads you up to sort of like the security gates, and just kind of waves to the guards, and you're let through with them. After a very kind of an unnecessarily lengthy cup of coffee, like a cup of tea, you're able to sort of like he excuses himself to go to the loo.
Sure. And during that cup of tea, I would have like made a point of showing him my irises.
Yes.
And being like, I'm a little bit concerned, old boy, that some of my erstwhile colleagues might be coming for me. You wouldn't know if there's any intelligence lying around which would help me get the jump on them.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, I didn't want to mention it. I didn't know if it was a precious subject, but possibly. I mean, there was obviously the guard had all of those, rounded up all those distance. But tell you what, here's my here's a visitor's pass. You'll find the records room down a floor on the third left. Don't try not to make yourself too visible. You don't want anyone asking more than a cursory question.
Invisible is my specialty, Bertrand.
Very good, very good. Right, well, I am going to give you the perfect cover because I'm dying for a piss. So it was lovely to see you, Algernon. I will hopefully see you sooner. Perhaps after the next global catastrophe.
Well, I'm doing my best to avert it.
And Bertrand kind of nods, and then it looks like he was genuinely kind of gagging for a wee because he scarpers quite quickly.
Cool, I'm going to head to those records.
Sure. So inside, you do manage to find, so it's been recently processed, but it is a list of all of the Sangovar that have been kind of arrested recently, like transfer papers and whatnot. So with that, you've got that. How are you going to match who's not on it or who is on it and whatnot? Or are you comparing arrests to transfer?
Some of these have been reported in the press, so I can sort of begin eliminating names.
Sure.
Yeah, just have a look through the list and see if there's any name that jumps out.
Sure.
As
so
unusual within the arrestees.
As you're looking through, like, one of the names that springs out is Amringer, and his two daughters. They seem to have all been rounded up. You noticed Samuel, the friend that Magpie's spoken of. The others are just names of kind of various Asavar that you know from around the city. Like some of the names you've heard of. Interestingly, when you compare like the arrests made to the list of those transferred to Bell Tower, it looks like it's a 1-to-1, suggesting that whoever is in the keep never made it onto the records.
They're so high profile, they're keeping them a secret.
Off the books arrest.
Are there any names like on the register that are like John McJohnson, like a very like fake name? Like, do you know what I mean? That's like, say the numbers match up, but
sure,
a sus name.
Surprisingly not. No, they all look. I mean, obviously, some of the names you wouldn't know if they were kind of real or not, but they're all like, it's all formatted correctly. All the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted. Yeah, it looks like that is. Yeah, well, if nothing else, you've got a list of all of the people that have been rounded up now.
What about looking for things like redacted documents?
So, Algernon, as you're kind of showing everyone the documents that you've come away with, this look like the thing that struck you is that this looks like the most. It almost looks too perfectly done. Like it is squeaky clean, this record keeping. And Algernon, you know that the EIC are better for process than the City Watch, but the moment you introduce a City Watch, there is an inherent level of sloppiness that kind of gets mixed into things. But this is, I mean, the fact that it's 1-to-1, there's been that much due care and attention put into what are supposed to be dissidents and troublemakers. Yeah, that's what you kind of gain from that. Whoever is in the tower isn't publicly known to be in the tower, kind of thing. Perhaps not even the EIC or, but yeah, the record keepers don't know of this person, not officially. Who's doing the next gather?
Okay, so I've been reading about the different landmarks.
Yeah.
In Saints Hollow, there's the Descent and there's the Ghetto. And
Yeah.
I'm wondering if... I imagine, although Dan, let me know, I imagine the Descent is not accessible because that's another type area of the prison. It sounds like other prisoners go to the Descent. And
Yeah,
it's like,
so the Descent
Right.
is fundamentally like a large tunnel within the prison grounds.
right.
It's like high security, but yeah, prisoners like chain gangs are led down the Descent, which leads to the sewers underneath Elysia, like the deep sewers.
Right.
And they are rat hunting.
Yes, the cannibalistic rats I read.
Yes.
Excellent. But I'm wondering maybe then if in the Ghetto, like, so if somebody, you're not going to want to walk a special VIP in through the front door, maybe they went through the tunnels. So maybe if we can find somebody that knows the sewer network and or the Ghetto, they might have seen some sus activity for another entrance into the prison. That's the only other thing that I sort of can think of.
Sure.
I tell you what, especially if... Is there any, like, cross-referencing that kind of idea with this list of people who... Because what I keep thinking is there's a whole list of people who've been rounded up and taken, which means that behind that list of people, there are potentially dozens or even hundreds of pissed-off family members, friends, and colleagues that have had, you know, people taken away from them. Is there anyone on that list that might be able to help us with, in respect to sort of Atta's very good idea, by the way, so thank you for sharing it.
Algernon, you're looking at a list of like 40 people. So yeah, theoretically there would be close to 40 families worth of disgruntled people. That said, bear in mind, Songbird knows that they were taken to the keep, not the prison.
Yeah, the keep is like the castle where
In the centre of
Algarve
the
lives.
city. Yeah, so this high-profile target is in the keep in Spire Park.
But still, how did they get him in there?
I suppose if the sewers are still a potential way into many places, I could go and speak to Asma, who lives on the canals in the sewers, and see maybe what she's seen around or heard around. That's my only sewer.
She might know if there's like a traitor's gate or something that people use to get prisoners into the keep via the canals.
Sure. Okay, that sounds like a consort, Atta.
Good grief, I've got 0 dice in consort, so I'm gonna
Would you like Frida to come with you?
consort with my grandma.
Yeah.
Well, my not grandma, but pseudo grandma.
Adopted grandma.
Yeah. Please, that would be great.
I will come with, and I will do a consort, because I have the good consort.
Sure. So, Frida, you have to squat somewhat, like stoop, as you go through these tunnels that Atta's just happily like skipping along, and like it's foul down here. But at least these are sort of like the higher echelons of the sewer system, rather than the higher levels, rather than the deep sewers. But yeah, roll your consort. We'll see what happens.
Up.
Do you want
What position and effect are we doing?
Just risky standard, because it's gather information. Partial success. Okay. So, Frida, you find yourself like Atta. Describe the room that you're having a chat with Nana in.
I haven't smelled the smell in a while, but like, you know, when you've left your rats and or ferrets perhaps a little bit too long without a cage clean out, there's definitely that funk going on.
I never have.
I imagine no, I would
assume.
never. But yeah, there's definitely a funk, and I think the canal boat is kind of a smaller version, so it's like quite squat. It's like a kind of 30-footer instead of the standard 42. But yeah, it's sort of like got a few mushroom planters that aren't really doing very well on the top of the roof. It's like kind of like crystal ball lady decor with like beaded curtains everywhere, doilies, suspicious looking teas, and obviously, as many people will know, with elderly relatives, very, very old biscuits in biscuit tins, like from probably before the fail bubble. It's like the worst biscuits ever.
Amazing.
Frida is trying really hard not to knock things over.
Yeah. This is a proper like Gandalf in Bilbo's house kind of moment, where you're kind of perched on a seat that is clearly sized for a goblin, not a big wolfkin woman like you. And as you like in front of you, there's almost a mirror image of Atta to what's Nana's name again? Sorry,
Asma.
But yeah, Nana Asma's got this like big, wide brimmed kind of hat, thin hair kind of hanging down from the back of it. But she's looking at you with this jovial thing, and she's been wittering at you for a good kind of 20 minutes. Just, you ask the question, she tangented, but eventually kind of comes around to what was the question again, dear?
So, Mrs. Asma, was it? We were.
Call me Nana.
Nana. Right. Nana. So Nana, what we want to know is if I was going to sneak someone into the keep, how might I do it? You must have been roaming around these places and these sewers for years, and you must know all the best kept secrets.
Well, whenever I see a big juicy rat that I really want, but I'm worried that the other rats are going to get it first, what I do is I throw a smaller, gribblier rat in the other direction, and then they all go scampering after it, and then I snatch up the big juicy one and then have it for my tea.
Frida sort of looks at Atta like, right.
I think the gribblier rat is the big group of sanguivar that the juicy rat is, maybe the interesting one. So
See.
Because while they're all chewing down on that gribbly, sinewy mess of a rat, I can just toddle off, do what I want. Everyone's looking, all the rats are looking the other way.
Yeah.
I see. But how do you think you would best slip past this group of rats fighting over the gribbly rat? Frida's trying really hard to talk in this metaphor, and finding it a bit difficult.
She kind of, oh well, that's easy. I just wear my rat coat, and she points, and over, like hanging from a coat hook, in the corner room is what looks like a raincoat, but like stitched in inverted commas, stitched into the fabric are just all of these, like by the tails, just rats just hanging down. Makes me smell just like one of them.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ doesn't exist in this world, does it?
Aya.
Oh, Aya. Oh, Mother Aya.
Yeah, sometimes just looking like them. You could just wander right past.
Oh, maybe they dressed a Sanguivar up like a Blackguard, or Blackguards wear masks, right? Golden masks?
Oh, that would be a conspiracy and a half.
They do.
I mean, nobody wants to go near the Blackguard, so it's kind of a perfect disguise to put someone in if you don't want them approached.
So, you've got one more follow-up question before Nana has to have her nap.
I don't suppose that you would mind assisting us with our own rat problem, would you, Nana? We might need to squirrel a certain rat away from a situation, and I think maybe these sewers might be the best way to do it.
She kind of looks at you for a moment, like her eyes start glazing over slightly, and then she turns to look to you, Atta, and, well, you look like you could do with a good meal, so if you've got a big juicy vat that you want to sneak away from wherever it is you're sneaking it away from, so you can tuck into it for dinner, absolutely. I'll give you some seasoning for it as well, dear, she says.
Thank you, Asma.
Rita sort of leans into Atta and just whispers, "She's not going to try and eat our prisoner, is she?"
Unless they're a rat. Just Atta starts thinking of a giant rat in a blackguard, like. Alright.
Yes, it would seem that if you were looking to escape via the sewers, Asma could come pick you up, potentially.
We go back and we relay that weird tale to everyone else.
Catherine or Magpie, how are you spicing the pudding?
I've got two thoughts. I don't know if you've got anything in mind, Nate.
Let's hear yours.
Right. So, number one, hearing about rats, dressing as a rat to catch a rat and all that, and the idea that the prisoner might have gone into the tower as a blackguard makes me think we should get some kind of disguise that makes it look like we should be there. Maybe not actual blackguard uniform, but some type of guard or orderlies or whatever, just so that at least that might buy us a few seconds at some point. Might help us also just like keep low profile while we're in there, until we've got the prisoner and we're trying to escape. The other thought was, would it not be helpful to have some idea of the layout of the tower? But I don't imagine that is public record, so probably we'd have to steal that information or bribe that information out of someone. So those are my two thoughts.
It would be helpful to know if this Sanguivar's being kept in the dungeon or if he's up in the tower.
Yeah.
Like we can't just.
Yeah, we should have some idea.
Sure.
Of where we're aiming for.
I mean, you kind of. Well, it's up to you. So, the layout of the keep is one thing. Like the rough location of where this prisoner might be is another. If you want, like, bear in mind that you've got the cobbles, the marionettes, and the Ilnashi kind of at your beck and call to help. So if you want, you can ask Songbird if she can either get you like the layout, or she can start to try to figure out roughly where they are, or anything actually. I mean, she's within the keep.
Yeah.
So.
She's the inside man. Yeah.
So, what you asking? Who you asking? Where you asking?
Well, maybe we should see if Nate's got anything, or how we want to sort of divide those questions out first.
I kind of want to know, just when Songbird says that they're gonna create a distraction, I kind of want to know, like, what exactly they're going to cause a distraction. What is the distraction they're going to cause?
So Songbird would have explained that fundamentally whatever you need the marionettes, the Ilnashi and the Cobbles to do, they can go out and do it. Bear in mind that the marionettes are like expert sneaks, so they can do things undetected. The Cobbles are numerous and wide-spanning, so if you need just like smoke screens or them to cause trouble, then you can do that. And the Ilnashi are like, if there's, I mean, they're quite ooky spooky, the Ilnashi. You know that there's like Algernon, you know that there's a lot of kind of occult practice that happens within the family, but you also know that, well, you all would know that over the past couple of years, anyone who's found themselves on the Ilnashi's naughty lists quite regularly go missing.
I've got an idea for a distraction.
Yeah.
Ooh. So, coming back to that list, how we were saying about loads of disgruntled families, do you think there's enough for us to start inciting a good old-fashioned riot? Maybe one that the sort of Ilnashi and the underground can help, you know, sort of jettison it so it gets to the point where it's a little bit out of hand.
Have
Sounds like flash.
a demonstration outside the tower that goes a bit wrong and becomes a riot.
Or maybe just a little bit few streets away, like in another little section that brings all the blackguard out of the tower.
Okay, so I mean, the Cobbles could have the numbers to spread out and gather people to have a little Barney in the Memorial Park.
I think we need to make it so it's like it gets out of hand, because what we want to do is not just a few people with, like, you know, we don't just want a few people with placards or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
We want it to get out of hand enough that the blackguard feel it necessary to show up.
Sure.
We can get the Cobbles to instigate it.
Sure.
Send Muster in with Lazy Tom and
old Tom.
No Tom.
Okay, yeah. So
and you, Tom, too.
So the Cobbles will go ahead and do that. So I'll make a roll for them to see how well they do. Like when the time comes. So that's certainly cover. Anything else?
I think Magpie's gonna talk to Songbird about trying to figure out where are we striking, like where are we most likely to find this mystery high value package.
Sure.
Yeah.
So Songbird nods to you, and I think I can sort that out, she says. Let me go ahead and roll. She is going to attempt to prowl.
Nice.
Ooh,
Crit!
sneaky.
It's a crit!
What a babe.
What a babe.
Okay.
Basically, he's down the corridor, 2 doors on the left. Or they.
If you get to the water fountain, you've gone too far.
Right. So, you ask Songbird if she can get this information, because you've got a bit of time. She comes back that evening, like later. Well, so yeah, she went to check in the day, and then that evening, just like before the midnight that you have to do the job, she approaches you and says, well, she gives you the exact location. Specifically, it's the northwestern tower.
Okay. Cool.
At the top. She finds it odd that it wasn't in the dungeons. But off the back of a crit, you can ask quite a few follow-up questions.
Oh boy, what questions do we want to ask people? So we know we need to get to the top of the northwestern tower.
How do we do that? What the defense is? You know.
Tell us everything about the mission, Dan.
Tell us everything.
Like, how
We got a crit.
How many locked doors is always a good question, I guess.
I mean, how long would it take to actually get up there? Like, we don't know whether or not the Northwest Tower is literally just like the next door on the left, or whether or not it's like a 10-minute like spiral staircase.
Sure.
Mhm.
Well,
How often do the guards go and take a poo break?
well, so yeah, she tells you that, she's able to tell you that, the top of the tower seems to be guarded by one black guard, but there are a number of like city watch in that area, and they pass by this black guard. They pass by the room, so potentially, if you were to acquire some disguises, if you were to disguise yourselves as the watch, the black guard might not necessarily think to look at you particularly closely.
Nice.
She is able, off the back of a crit, she is also able to give you like a discreet route up to the tower. So if you follow that path, it will make kind of the job significantly easier.
Nice.
That includes like a couple of like secret doorways in fireplace kind of things.
Secret passageways. So exciting.
So yeah, she fundamentally gives you the roadmap to getting to the door, and then everything that happens after that is up to you.
Nice.
For XP purposes, do I get credit for that crit, Dan? Because it's a desperate.
No. Sure. You know what? Sure. Why not? Not your XP.
Are we thinking disguises? Are we thinking, do we want City Watch disguises?
I have an idea.
I think so.
Maybe
Go on.
if a couple of you were disguised as City Watch, you could arrest me. And bring me in.
That's so cool!
But then, wouldn't you be going to Bell Tower rather than the keep?
No, because I'm such a dangerous instigator.
They're special.
They can't put me with the other Sanguivar.
Okay, yeah. In which
We put
case,
you in a Hannibal mask.
Well, we've got the mask that covers your face.
We've got that spooky mask.
We've got the spooky mask.
Okay. I mean, that sounds legit. So, I mean, it sounds like if you were to acquire some disguises, then you would be starting this kind of job using social, because you're trying to deception. Sorry, because you're trying to like.
I reckon I know where we could get some disguises. We'll need some. Oh, go on then, Cavern. Oh, and hang on. Shall we say it at the same time? See if we've got the same thought.
No.
1, 2, 3.
We don't have the same thought.
Because I was thinking the whorehouses.
I was thinking the whorehouses as well, but maybe different. Do you want to get? Should we go to the whorehouse? Should we go?
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't get distracted, you two.
Time.
So, are you heading to the pleasure palaces of Celestry?
Yeah. Can I go and talk to my friend? Can I talk to my friend Amber Rose?
Amber?
Yeah.
You absolutely can. So, in which case, yeah, the two of you head to Celestry, and Catherine, what is the name of the place that Amber works at?
I like to think it's called like the Bouquet or something like that, and all of the girls have like different like flower names.
Okay, it's the Blushing Bouquet. How's that?
Nice.
Ooh,
Okay, so you head to the Blushing Bouquet in Celestry, and speaking to the Ignan sprite at the front, you ask if Rose is available, and like you're led inside into this kind of low lit, like candle lit, drapes everywhere kind of room with like little coins drilled through, like hanging around, and and a strong smell of incense. And a few moments later, a red-haired Lorivar sweeps in. And Gavrin, Nate, this is your chance to screw me. How does Amber Rose present herself? Like, what's her voice like?
I would say that she has. I kind of want her to have one of those like high squeaky voices.
Okay.
Can you
At least I'm not
demonstrate?
saying it's Brian Blessed like Livy did in Daggerheart.
I was so tempted to say that. What's a
gonna
squeaky
go with,
voice
like,
sound like?
M&S advert kind of voice, but no, high squeaky's great.
Are we talking like Valley Girl high squeaky?
I'm thinking like, well, not so much high squeaky, but I'm thinking like Marilyn Monroe in which one is it called?
Breathy and husky.
Just like where it's just like ooh, just like that.
That's all of them. That was just Marilyn Monroe. That's her style.
In which case,
birthday.
Yeah.
So the
Dan, do your huskiest Marilyn Monroe.
so the drapes open, and well, I'll be.
Hey, sugar.
I wasn't expecting two of you, she says, looking at you, Cavern, and then Frida.
Oh, Amber, you saucy little minx. How are you, my dear?
Oh, things have been good, but I'm hearing that you might be here for business rather than pleasure, though.
Unfortunately, yes. Yes.
How can we help? She says, and she perches on your lap like side saddle.
We know that you cater for a lot of different people in this. A lot of different tastes.
Mm-hmm.
Do any of your patrons ever fancy, as much as they're a disgust to myself, any city guard?
She gives you a look that says, "Come now." Of course there are. Well, I mean, they're our most numerous clientele.
Then I would take it that you would have some outfits for some certain roleplay.
She thinks about it, and well, maybe for you, I'm sure I could dig something up. And if we do, we'll see if we've got your size. And if we haven't, then perhaps when one of them are cuffed to the bedpost, we'll just accidentally lose the key for a while.
Fantastic. I love the way that you work.
She boops you on the snoot, and she lets you know that she'll do her best. Please roll me a consort.
Bum, 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 bum.
Can I do an assistance on this? Or
You may. It's one stress.
okay, that's fine. Boom, stress.
Okay, so you get an extra dice or effect. So
Nice.
dice, presumably.
Roll.
That's pretty good.
Not bad, not bad.
Okay. So yeah, that evening, a courier arrives with a parcel that contains how many disguises did you ask for?
Who wants to disguise?
I assume Frida will, because Frida's probably the most city watch looking person of the lot here.
I've got a wonderful ability that means when I'm in disguise, I get a +1 dice. So
you should definitely do it. Yeah.
Okay. Magpie?
Well, yeah, possibly. I always like the idea of not being seen at all. So I don't know. I'm happy to be in disguise if people want me in disguise.
Okay.
Hidden in plain sight.
And
that's unusual for her.
We won't need one for Algernon. Atta?
Are there other things that we could have I don't know, I know that City Watch is gonna go past the Blackguard, but if I'm sort of wondering if there's just like Sorry.
The old washerwoman. Oh, this keep
Yeah.
gets
What
so
do-
dusty.
What does Atta want to dress up as?
French maid costume. There you go. I'm dusting. I'm without any other like significantly useful ideas, that it would be probably still City Watch, but if there is like if there are like keep attendants, like I don't know,
Housekeepers?
that, like,
Housekeepers
work
get
there,
everywhere.
yeah.
There must be
Right.
some housekeepers in keep.
I'm just wondering if they suspect the city guard, then we're all getting caught in the same.
I think
disguise,
you're
aren't we?
right. I think splitting our disguises up a bit is a good idea.
Okay. So
Like, why would 4 city guard be escorting 1 sanguine?
okay. So two uniforms for the city guard, and then Magpie and Atta might just be like inverted commas like servant girls, like
Sure.
keep maids.
Yeah, keep maids.
Okay.
Those skirts are particularly high.
Keepers.
Sure. Okay. So it seems like you've got your method of entry. We're pretty much settled on deception. You know where you're going. You've got some vague sense of an escape route. Like if you can get down to the sewers somehow, then you can toddle on out. It seems like you're pretty much ready for the job.
It
One
does
last
seem that
thing.
way.
Yep.
Can I make a request of Songbird?
Yeah. Bear in mind she was busy doing
Or-
Magpie's thing.
Or maybe not even Songbird, it might be better for like the Majani.
Uh-huh.
But I mentioned earlier that, like, you know, my head was quite hurty, and I was going to ask if there was anyone around that table that could maybe help patch us up a little bit before we start the job.
What a great idea. Yeah. Bit of
Some
therapy.
aspirin wouldn't go amiss. Some therapy. Yeah.
Bit of therapy, get us stressed down.
Any psychologists?
Some bath salts and candles for stress reduction.
Nice
What kind
massage,
of
it'd be
bath
lovely.
salts? But not on the feet. No more footsteps.
No more
That's
footsteps.
how we got in this problem in the first place.
Yeah.
So you can certainly ask Lady Null if she's got any like tinctures or potions.
Please.
Please.
Yeah. Roll me a. I think this is gonna have to be a sway.
A sway. Oh, I've got a
You
little
don't
bit
really
of sway.
know her, and you've got to convince her.
Is that both of us?
Well, if one wants to help or not.
Is what's your sway?
My sway is 1.
I've
Like,
got 2.
I've got 2. Ooh. I don't know if I can help you though, because I've already taken a stress helping with the last one.
Yeah. Do you want me to go?
Yeah, go on then.
Right then. I'll
My
bat
sway
my-
is more
I'll bat my pretty
intimidation-based.
little eyes that she can't see.
Please.
Please.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
5.
Are you heading to like the Ilnashi Manor to ask this? Are you asking them on home turf, or are you asking before you left to head to Celestry?
I would say we're asking
Before we
before we left, yeah.
Okay. In which case, as you ask, and you point at your very numb arm, which has recently been dislocated, your ribs. Frida, you've got your concussion.
I show them my dirty bandages and I go like, I can't go out like this.
You like this old woman turns to look to you, and she's just like with a kind of white glazed eyes. She's just staring in your direction, and then like it's when you're like, oh, look at these bandages, and you realize, oh, I've just asked, oh no. But like this old withered hand like reaches out, and it feels quite bony, and it feels like she's almost going to pierce the skin as she squeezes your ribs, and like pain starts shooting up and down. But you see her sort of like moving her fingers ever so slightly. And then she turns to the male Manjani that kind of gave you the eye earlier, and she's clearly whispering something in his ear, but it's so low it's inaudible. And he just sort of like nods and heads out of the room and comes back with 2 draughts of tincture. And as he hands you one each, he says, "We expect the kindness will be returned in kind."
Well, if you touch me the way that she did, then sure.
There is a sneer on his face as he hands you the tinctures. The tinctures will remove one of your harm boxes. So Frida, that's gonna, as you drink it, it will wipe out your concussion.
Yay!
Cavern, it's only powerful enough to sort out your arm or your ribs.
Let's go with my arm then.
Cool. So yeah, your arm no longer feels kind of like numb and heavy after being kind of relocated, and Frida, your concussion clears out. So Cavern, you are still going to be operating at less effect because of your bruised ribs for anything that involves your bruised ribs.
Oh man, I hope we do not have to end up giving any foot rubs after this.
Okay.
I've got one last thing, unless we need to move on. I maybe want to ask my wizard in a bubble whether Wizard in a Bubble has any good ways of, like, I don't know, any information about the tower, or
Yeah,
like,
who is he?
good
What
ways...
does he know?
I don't know.
What's
who
his name,
he
Dan?
is.
Dan,
He's
what's
just a
his
wizard
name?
in a
what's the
bubble.
wizard's name?
Hey,
Like,
what's his name?
Are there magical ways of concealing or confusing, or is there anything that I can use? Because I feel like sometimes when I use my attune, I don't know how broad it can be. Like, I'm ghost-related attune, so I guess I'm asking the wizard if there are things that I can do with attune that might help us a little bit more in a more social situation.
And
Tell you what, roll me attune.
Okay.
And if you don't give him a name, we are going to start calling him Wizardy McBallface.
I'm pretty sure I asked you lot to come up with a name for him.
That's it then,
There
unless
is.
you can come up with something better.
What was the name of your Sorcerer Supreme, Meg?
Oh, good question. It was inappropriate. I remember that. What was it?
I don't know his name, so I'm just like, Wizard!
Yes, you hear from the
Yes.
I'm gonna be doing something scary soon. Is there anything that you know that helps in scary situations?
Okay. So you've rolled a 3. So the Atta, you are, you know, when you get into those really long conversations and like you never really have the right opportunity to like leave, you find yourself caught up significantly longer as this wizard kind of gives you these really obtuse and obscure like meta tactics of the magical application of enchantment and transmutation spells in order to, and then there was this one time that I did it, and oh actually that reminds me there was this thing, and oh I really need to speak to so and so and so, and have you ever seen the peaks of Kathmala? Like, are they really and you're just just holding this all for too long. So you've rolled a 3. That will potentially bite you in the arse.
Okay.
Cool.
So my Sorcerer Supreme name was Obnoxious Pricked, and it actually might be quite fitting.
I was going to go with Safaran.
Saffron. Good name.
I like that you go with Safaran, but Atta never remembers it, so she always just ends up calling him Wizard.
Yes. Okay, so well, the mission is beginning. You're following. You've donned your disguises. Those of you that are donning disguises. Algernon, you're cuffed, and you're using deception to get in. Atta and Magpie, you're sneaking in through sort of like the servants' entrances, I presume.
Yeah, would make sense.
Yeah, maybe like even prisoners need to eat, right? So I guess we try and figure out like when a meal would be brought to them.
Sure. Okay, that sounds.
Yeah. I mean, we know that actually, the actual attack is gonna kick off with the changing of the guard. She said.
Yeah.
So maybe we try and sneak in at the last sort of meal time.
Sure. So actually, that reminds me. So the cobbles, as their numbers have now swollen due to recently moving into Old Town, they are going to make their roll to see how well they did with the crowds.
Oh yeah. Oh dear.
A partial success. Okay, so in which case, the three of you heading through the front and the two of you, in inverted commas, heading through the back, you notice that there is a very, quite a sizable crowd in Memorial Park alongside the keep, to the west of the keep. You notice, Cavern, Frida, and Jay and Algernon, it dawns on you that the crowd looks surprisingly big. And as you kind of glance around, you can see some of the cobbles kind of looking at each other a bit confused, because there's a lot of people sort of angry, and you can see the a lot of Sangrevar are angry because they're shouting. Obviously, they're Sangrevar because they're related. But you can see friends of them, presumably. But you notice there's a lot of people in the crowd that just seem to be there. But the cobbles are just a bit like, I suppose there's noticeable. And it is a noticeable crowd. And between you, Magpie, and Atta, you find there's going to be just kind of servants, maids. Maestro's just kind of wandering around, kind of looking after things, changing bedpans and whatnot.
Collecting plates maybe of meals that have been finished.
Could be.
Yeah, precisely. So what I'm going to do, you've all, in inverted commas, made your way into the keep. I would like one of you to nominate yourself to be the designated roller for this deception engagement role. I'm going to say it's basically even Stevens, because you've had a crit. Actually, let's do +1 dice, because you had a crit, so that's +2. So you're able to follow Songbird's directions to the northwest tower. But Atta, you're a bit distracted, and or maybe excited, regurgitating what you heard from Wizard to Magpie, and potentially might blow some sort of cover. Who would like to make the roll?
Go on.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So 1 dice normally. I'm gonna say
you a good one.
+1 dice, because it was +2 originally from Songbird, -1 for Atta, so +1. So 2 dice total.
2 in total.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. Here goes nothing.
Okay.
Don't let me do it again.
So, as you're making your way up through the keep, everything is seemingly going to plan. Algernon, you're jostled around a bit by some of the other guards, but some of the city watch that happen to be in the keep. But luckily, Cavern and Frida managed to kind of, in inverted commas, rough you up enough to kind of divert the others' attentions away, kind of thing, jostle you around a bit. and there comes a point where you're able to sort of like break free and head into the secret passage routes that Songbird's given you. Likewise, Atta and Magpie, you're able to make your way through the keep, but you find yourself like cornered by what is effectively like the manager of the staff, and you're kind of delayed a little bit as you try to break away from his attentions. As the five of you kind of begin making your way, you can hear the sound of like the commotion from the crowd in the park. Like it's getting kind of louder as you pass by windows. When you notice that it seems extremely loud all of a sudden, and as one of you catches a look out of a upper floor window down into the park, as you're kind of scaling up the tower towards your objective, you notice that the riot bit has clearly started, but someone has set fire to the Statue of Unity in the middle of the park, and the figure of Elysians having banded together to kick out House Antony is engulfed in flame. And you can see that there are a number of like burning torches in the crowds, and like the crowd is kind of spread out, and it's just lost its coherency, and people are running about, and you can see that there are some of these burning pictures being tossed onto nearby, like setting fire to nearby buildings, and like someone set the well on fire and so on. And you catch yourself thinking, this seems very aggressive.
Extreme.
When you get to the top of the tower, you notice, surprisingly, that the Blackguard is not there. And the door that you're headed to is unguarded. As you approach, you hear a loud bang from outside, an explosion, and you can see that a large part of the park has been set ablaze. And as that explosion rings out, you hear alarms begin to ring through the keep as the defense is mobilized. And you realize now that everyone's going to be on high alert, so moving through the building will be difficult. But as you approach the door, you notice that it is slightly ajar.
The door's ajar?
Yeah.
That's not good, surely.
Does there look like there's been a scuffle? Like...
well, who's pushing... Well, who's investigating? Algernon. I mean, you made the roll. So Algernon, as you...
Yeah, I shoved the door with my crutch and it creaks open.
So as you push the door open, you find a small little kind of airy room. There is a Blackguard sprawled belly down, face down on the floor, and sat on a small stool by one of the little arrow slit windows, watching the park as it's set ablaze, is a Laravar woman in a purple coat with a purple hat, and she appears to be stirring a cup of tea. And she turns to look to you and, well, this is a terrible mess, isn't it? And I think we'll call a break there.
She's fine. She doesn't need rescue at all. Taking care of herself.
So, let us grab a quick break, and then we will find out how this extraction goes. If you liked what you're seeing, make sure to hit the like button and comment down below on I mean, sure, why not? Atta didn't remember, so let's throw names for the wizard in the comments. Have a chance to influence the campaign. And if you want to see how this job concludes, then make sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon for notifications of new releases, because they come out very frequently. We wouldn't want you to miss them, would we now? Yeah. So, see you all in a bit.
Bye.